and I'm back with another guide on Azure Vault. Alright, we're gonna jump straight into it. For Tyrant Weeks, we've been pulling this entire first pull, and the best way to do that is to come through this way. You tag the tree ball or the tree mob, and then you come back, then you pick up 2 lasher packs. And then afterwards, you will come back here in this corner to line. You can line all the little lashers. There is a chance you will get the thing that turns you into a tree. I think it's erratic growth from the tree, but don't panic. As long as you are out of line of sight, even if you turn into a tree and the rest of your group is lining here, they can be inside the circle and you can get dispelled without any worry. Okay, and then once you kind of have everything grouped up, they're going to be casting, they're going to get their first round of casts. You can come out, then you pick up the Crystal Furies. Kind of fucked up. There you go. You can pick up the Crystal Furies, and you kind of want to aim, obviously, the Crystal Furies off to the side on Tyrant Weeks. Realistically, you shouldn't worry too much about the Crystal Furies on Tyrant Weeks. Obviously, have an audio cue for this, because there's so many other, things going on. I think the most important thing is to stop the Lasher cast. The Crystal Furies, you should be fine with Incarn, Barkskin, SI, kind of just rotate them if you do get hit. Obviously, you don't want to, stack the dot infinitely from piercing shards, but you can go up to 3 stacks, and you will still be okay. If you think this is too big of a pull, it's absolutely fine to kind of break it into 2. You can just do the main room, and then chain it into the tree afterwards. Same thing for pack 2. You pull them, you come over here, you tag one of these far lashers with Moonfire. It will not aggro the whelp. There's no social aggro. And same thing for the side ones. You pull those, come over here to line. Inside this room, in this corner, you line again. They get their first set of casts off. You might have like 1 or 2 that cast in melee, but you can obviously kick those, kill that, and then do this pack. For these Crystal Furies, the easiest way to do them without getting Crystal Shards off on Fort Weeks, obviously because they'll hurt a lot more, you mark one of them and assign a DPS to stop it. Rogues can usually get 3 to 4, so by the time they even get like 3 to 4 out, they should already be dead. So Rogue can stop one of them by themselves. Usually melee are able to stop one by themselves for the entire duration of the pull, but up to you. You can obviously assign 2 DPS to one, 2 DPS to the other, or rather you plus another DPS to the other. You should be able to solo 2 of them with Incarn Roar plus Typhoon, and if you're Tauren, you can War Stomp. That will also work. Not much to say about this bottom pack. Mark the trees, Skull, X, whatever you need, and then assign a melee kick to each. If you have 2 range, then have 2 of the range rotate on one of them. You can solo one, and then your melee DPS can solo another. For the boss, the best way to do this boss, because the frontal thing that clears the trees, what is it called? Erupting Fissure. Because this comes out shortly after the infused strike, usually like 5 to 6 seconds, you don't actually have too much time to kind of position the boss too much. What you want to do is leave the boss somewhere in the center. There will always be 2 trees in the center, and you want to move the boss around to where you'll be able to hit the center trees be in line of be in range of your healer and still hit 2 outer trees. Should be fairly easy to do if you stay on the inner side and you know, line up the inner 2 trees with the outer 2 trees. If you try to line it up with the outer trees, if you choose the wrong area to pre-position, so sorry, I guess let me go back a little bit. The sequence is tree spawn, then infuse strike, then the frontal cone. When the trees spawn, you have to decide immediately kind of like where you're going to take the boss. If you don't decide immediately and you choose the wrong area, there's a very high chance you will miss 4 trees if you try to take it to the outer ring. Hence why I like to leave the boss in the center, hit the 2 trees in the center, plus 2 trees on the outside. It's a lot easier to position that way. It gives you a lot more time to move the boss around. And then during the intermission, if you're having issues picking up the ads, obviously your DPS should be bringing them all into the center. If they're out there, like especially if their healer's out there just healing, he's gonna get healing aggro. That is, just not on you. That is definitely on the healer sitting out there with healing aggro. There's absolutely no way for you to pick them all up. Alright, coming into the next room. This pole is very dangerous with pugs. I would not recommend doing this. You can pick up trash later if you want. However, in our routes, well, this is the Tyran route. On Tyran, it's not too bad if a couple get off. Same thing again. Usually, if you're in a coordinated group, you go, alright, Walla, you have first 2, I get next 2, and then Big has the next 2. These are the name of my teammates. So that's kind of how you want to coordinate it. Okay, coming into this ring, usually you'll have Lust. If you do this route, that is, you'll have Lust. And for the most part, it's fairly straightforward. If you do have Lust and you're coordinated, you can do this pack 9. Otherwise, I would separate this and do this instead. So you can Lust on pack 8, and then pack 10, you'll have 2 Furies. That way in your pack 9, you won't have 3. Same thing for everything. You can, for the most part, solo the Icy Bindings. That's like the most dangerous thing, I guess, in these packs. Just make sure Icy Bindings doesn't go off. That is the #1 way, I guess, to wipe in these pulls, aside from the Crystal Furies, obviously. But for the Crystal Furies, if you assign DPS, the DPS to get like 2 each, should be fairly easy. Okay, coming to this bottom pack, I guess I haven't talked about Incarn timings real quick. Let me just go over it. So this first pull, you'll have Incarn. Tree, you won't. The Lashers, you will. These Lashers actually do melee kind of hard initially when you do these big pulls, so be careful of that. I have died quite a few times with that. You won't have Incarn on the Crystal Furies here. You will have it on this pack. You'll pop it once on the boss, and then you'll have Incarn again on this big pack, which obviously you have to have. Coming here, if this is Fort Week, you will have Incarn on this first pack. Otherwise, on Tyrant Week, you'll have Incarn some way mid-pack. You just pop it. And then same thing again, you'll pop Incarn somewhere between these 2 packs. You will not have it at the start of this pack, however, that is fine, because you're just picking up these mobs. They take some time for them to all be grouped up. You can sneak by on the inner ring to pick up the Pat if you have bad Pat. Otherwise, the Pat will be like somewhere here or somewhere here. You can pick them up. Pop your defensives. Your Incarn will not be up yet. And then you should be able to survive for long enough to where your incarn comes back up. For the tank busters here, use big wigs or grab a weak aura, one or the other, for audio cues on the frontals. That way you can easily step left or right. Should make this pull fairly easy. 2 more Crystal Furies, nothing hard about here. Do not pop Incarn here, you probably will have it up again. Coming into this room, usually you'll pick up 2 of the Vault Guards plus a 3rd, so it'll be something like this on Fort weeks. On Tyrant weeks, you can opt to bring in the mini boss as well, because you will have Incarn for this pull. Personally, I would not do it if you're not comfortable with this. You can definitely just pull the Lieutenant by itself after doing this first pack, especially on 4 weeks. But on Tyrant weeks, I pulled this on a 23, all of this, no issues. The key thing again is similar to Jade Temple, where the last pack in that dungeon for tank busters, it's very similar to that, where you kind of have to rotate your defenses properly. You will probably run out of defensives since they do cast Icy Cutter very quickly. What I will say though is the main target you're watching heavily is obviously the mini boss. His Icy Cutter hurts more, the breath hurts more. For the little dudes, you can kind of slowly kite them around the room if you don't want to tank too many, if you don't have defensives. Otherwise, during Incarn, when one of the little ones hit, you Frenzy Regen. You pop defensives for the big Lieutenant, it'll last for some of the smaller ones. If they all sync up, if you notice that like 2 to 3 of the Icy Cutters are syncing up, especially on Fort weeks, you need to start kiting once you're out of defensives, because you have to pop a defensive if they start syncing, and that will happen if you have AoE stuns in your group, etc. If you opt to do the mini boss by itself, the way I would do it is I'd do something like this instead. If you do this on Fort weeks, keep in mind Condensed Frost hurts a lot. Okay, Condensed Frost hurts a lot. It's not that it hurts a lot, but rather if it lines up with an Icy Cutter, you are dead. If it lines up with the Frost Breath, chances are you are dead. Unless you have defensives, obviously, but the mini boss takes a while. You won't have enough defensives, so make sure your DPS kick. And then obviously the small guys, they also do some magic damage, so keep that in mind. For this last pack, you may or may not have Incarn. If you don't have Incarn, then and you may or may not, depending on how you pull the mini boss. If you want to pull slow, then you'll probably have Incarn somewhere mid-pack, and I would highly recommend you pop it or kite. You kite the Lieutenant, you run away extremely far, you can be kited. And then for this pack, if you don't have Incarn, just run around, kite it, Moonfire for aggro. Yeah, because these can be kited forever. I'm not going to talk about the frogs because these are fairly simple. If you want to do the route where you pull frogs instead, by all means go for it. Should be fairly simple. Just watch out for the bleed stacks from these Terrasec Delvers. Okay. For the boss, should be fairly simple. You should have defensive for every single set. If not, save Tooth and Claw for the Tank Buster. Not gonna go too much into that. Same thing for the third boss, should be fairly simple. I'm gonna talk about the last boss though. For this last boss, you actually do want to kite a lot. The orbs are very, very annoying. The orbs being the things that kind of like move around the room, follow you or the healer. Usually you want to drag the boss to one of the edges of the room. That way he'll spawn the crystals, kind of clumps right here, maybe one right here and then one underneath, something of the sort. And from here you'll start moving like far. Every single time during thundering, because you don't get slowed during thundering, you want to make big moves. That way it makes sure that the balls are never an issue. So make big moves. During each tank buster, have your healer dispel. If your healer does not dispel, you are dead. The dot does fuck. And then with that dispel, again, you can move more, since it also dispels the slow. How you rotate your defensives on this boss, usually I like to hold Incarn a little bit. I won't pop Incarn on full. What I'll normally do is I'll use Bark Skin plus a Frenzied Regen, and then SI plus a Frenzied Regen. You don't always have to pop a Frenzied Regen, because there's no damage really coming out afterwards, but it is definitely nice to have. Definitely keep up an Iron First stack. If you don't, you might die. Unless you have SI, then you won't drop low enough to die. But yeah, I'll normally pop Bark Skin, then SI, and then if you want to delay Incarn a little bit longer, you can, but I'll usually pop Incarn on the third Tank Buster. And the reason why I delay it is so that SI, I'll have an extra charge towards the end. You most likely will need it. And then in Incarn, you don't need to pop anything at all. It should last you for 2 Tank Busters, and then on the one after, you can pop Rage, or you can pop Rage beforehand. If you do pop Rage inside your Incarn for damage, you will most likely need to call for a healer external somewhere after Incarn. Otherwise, you will have to eat one with no defensive, which is fine. I'm pretty sure you can live it up to like, I don't know, 22. Tyran should be okay. I'm pretty sure you still won't get one shot if you're, geared out for like 415, 418, somewhere around that eye level range. I'm pretty sure you'll still survive, but you will survive with like 5-10% HP. Up to you whether you want to risk that. But yeah, coming out of that, you just start rotating defensives again. Out of Incarn, you go Bark Skin for the next Tank Buster, and then after that, usually I'll call for a healer external, and then Rage of the Sleeper is after that. Because I usually use Rage of the Sleeper with my Incarn for damage, but I know I have a healer external to use. And then after that, I'll use SI, and sometimes I will have to save a Tooth and Claw proc if I'm out of defensives. That's another way to go about it. So yeah, you do have a lot of options. Just making sure you rotate your defensives properly, and if you are out of defensives, you need to recognize that beforehand and save a Tooth and Claw proc. Because Tooth and Claw procs are a little hard to get on this boss fight. Not like really hard, but rather sometimes you may not have it when you're kiting the boss. When you're running away from orbs, you're not in melee to, melee auto attack to get Tooth and Claw procs. So just keep that in mind. Alright, and that's pretty much about it for this dungeon. Hope you guys enjoyed, and good luck in your next keys. Take it easy.